Well done, Carrick. Isn't it great to see the beaches really firing this time of year as all those salmon start to come in? Gives us something to do all winter long. Leaf here with this week's Boss Outdoor Fishing Report.
So May is a transition month from autumn as we slowly move into winter. May for me is the time of year that everything starts to get colder. We're seeing some colder mornings. The water temp is slowly dropping. There's still plenty of bait fish around on the headlands and even under the wharves. So the water temperature isn't seeming to affect them that much. There's still plenty of slimy mackerel around, lots of yakkers around all the wharves, and even some big garfish. So with all these bait fish, there's definitely got to be predatory fish around as well. The bonito are still around, but they are slowly starting to decrease in numbers. There's still some good sized fish around, but you can't go and target them as effectively anymore. They're more sort of a bycatch when you're targeting salmon and that sort of thing. So with all this bait around, there are also kingfish still on the headlands. Down south towards Eden is fishing quite well. There's good numbers of some bigger fish getting around. Even Marimbula Wharf is still producing a few. As we come into May, this is kind of the end of our south coast pelagic run. So offshore, your marlins start to slow down. Inshore, like I mentioned, bonito will start to slow down. The longtail tuna, they are still here. This is quite late in the season for them. There's still a few around, not in the numbers that there were about a month ago, but you still got very much of a shot if you're on the headland with a bait in the water, so still worth targeting them. Frigate, I haven't seen a frigate in a few days now. They will start to taper off. All those kind of inshore pelagics will start to slow down as the water temp cools. However, your snapper fishing is only going to get better. Snapper and kingfish love cold water. We're coming into the time of year where it's even possible to get onto a few snapper land-based. Early mornings are your pick, so those low light conditions even before the sun is up. So there's a little window from first light just until the sun's coming over the horizon. That's your window for the snapper. So right in close around the wash, good baits, pilchard, even whole yakkers, some squid will do the trick. Lightly weighted and just waft them down in the current. So it's definitely worth getting after a few snapper.
It is a great time of year to get out there and chase those snapper around. Even on soft plastics, Shane Mayberry went out the other day, threw a few gulp around and came up tight with a 68.5 centimetre snapper. That'd probably win you the comp in a couple of weeks, I reckon, Shane.
Speaking of snapper, the Marimbula Big Game and Lakes Angling Club is holding a snapper classic, I believe the 24th and 25th of May. Awesome time of year to go out and target a few pinkies. There's even starting to see some bigger fish around. So off the beaches at the moment is another great option. There's still large numbers of salmon around and the odd big tailer too. Staff members Caroline Harris and Adam Harris have been getting amongst a few salmon. Just across on the main beach here, there's actually this morning there was a big patch of salmon. You can see it when you're sitting high up on the sand dunes. From a good vantage point, it'll just look like a dark cloud in the waves. That's a big school of salmon. This time of year too, usually towards June a little bit more, but they will start to move into the estuary. So those big schools of salmon, they'll move off the beaches up into the lakes, and that's when we see that big congregation of the whole channel will be filled with fish, and it's great fun. You can catch them pretty easily. So the mulloway fishing at the moment is still worth a crack. There's less numbers than there was when we had that run back closer towards Christmas in February. There's a good run of smaller fish. There's less of them now, but it is still worth fishing. There's some bigger fish getting around. You may have to go through a few fishless sessions to get there, but it's worth a crack. There's some big fish around. Also some really big tailor on the beaches too. So if you're throwing bigger lures hoping for a mulloway, don't be surprised if you do catch a solid tailor. There's definitely a couple of them around. So as the water temps start to cool, generally this time of year the estuaries do slow down. However, we are still seeing quite a few good fish being caught. There's some good trevally in the Bega River at the moment, and even the odd flatty as well. Up the top lake here is still producing the odd fish, the odd small jew, a few trevally as well, and sometimes the odd flatty. So yeah, it's definitely worth a crack. Probably your best option is to float baits in a burley trail at the moment to get the fish in the mood to feed, they are generally less inclined to hit lures and stuff as the water cools down, but it's still worth a crack for sure.
Well, traditionally, I suppose it's more tuna time than it is marlin at the moment. But staff member Corey was out there the other day chasing a few tuna around and landed himself 2 marlin. So there's still a couple of marlin around out there. There is that warm little pocket of water. So yeah, if you see that, get on the edge of that. You might get a tuna, you might get a marlin. Well, if you're struggling to catch a marlin or a tuna out there, stop and have a deep drop. My mate Mark Mitchell went out there the other day and got a box full of ling, or a couple of boxes of ling. Some really good bottom fishing with not much current. We've still got some pretty good weather, I think, tomorrow. So Friday is very fishable. And then, I don't know, you might want to hang your boots up for a week. It's some wild weather coming, I think. So get into that fishing tomorrow. Well, that wraps things up for another week of the Boss Outdoor Fishing Report. If there's anything you need to know, whether it's fishing, camping, anything outdoor related, come into Boss Outdoor so we can hook you up.